This is Jennifer Hale, and you're listening to the Fiveish Fangirls Podcast. And, I should go.
The tangents and squeak continue all the way to episode 413 of the Fiveish Fangirls Podcast, and I don't speak Japanese, but I do speak Catbus. Welcome everyone to this week's episode of the Fiveish Fangirls Podcast. So glad you joined us. Let's start off like we do every week by on the virtual table and see who's joined us this week.
This is Brittany Belvedere.
This is Chrissy in Salt Lake City.
This is Holly from Wisconsin.
And this is Rachel in Indianapolis, Indiana. Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Hey,
Brittany has returned
Hey.
from her magical adventures with all the dogs everywhere.
Yes.
Yeah. And going back.
Yeah. More
Okay.
dogs.
More
I
doggies.
love it.
Like, yeah, you can miss podcast time for doggos as long as you send pictures.
Yes.
Yes, exactly. Yes.
Yep.
That's the fee for going and doing
Yep.
that. Pictures of dogs.
That's what I told my brother. He's been it's of all places, he's been in Japan for the last 2 weeks.
Wow.
But he'll be home by the time this comes out. But I was like, as long as you send animal pictures, you're perfectly allowed to go and have fun. And
You're
every now and
forgiven.
then there'll be like a random cat on the street, and I'm like, that's fine.
Cute animals, we'll take it.
Yep. So we're gonna have some more cute-ish animals to speak about here shortly, but first we need to do the news. So, which pretty much all of our news came out of Star Wars Celebration,
Holy Hannah.
which just concluded across the pond.
Yep.
So not a lot in the way of like trailers or anything. Apparently they showed quite a bit, but it was supposed to be just for the audience there. Apparently some stuff has leaked, and Disney / Lucasfilm has jumped on that and put the kibosh on it really quickly. So
They do pay their lawyers.
Yes, they do.
yeah.
Mhm.
So but we did get a lot of information, even if we did not get necessarily a whole lot of imagery to go with it, mostly just the powers that be speaking on a stage. Which,
Perhaps
something.
that is like, perhaps they've learned one lesson, because they announced a lot of things that they had like images and video and stuff for that got scrapped. So
Yeah.
Mhm. Yes.
I guess that's something.
Yeah. That's probably a chunk of it would be my guess.
And I noticed the comments have been kind of limited. There was no little snafu with the no source material
Mhm.
from the other years prior.
So
No, not bitter about that little quote. That's
Oh,
fun.
yeah.
well,
You are
the
not
stuff
only
we
one,
did
Miss
get
Holly.
is stuff that is actively in production, if not in post-production. So more likely to happen because this is not DC. So we are getting a season 2 of Andor. They're actually in the middle of filming it. They started filming back in November. So they're almost exactly on the same schedule as they were with season 1. So they're theorizing that if stuff stays the way it is, then more likely we'll get it next summer. So it will be the last season as well. They knew it was only going to be 2 seasons. So, because we know where Cassian Andor ends up.
Yeah.
His story ends at a very particular point.
Yes, to quote Doctor Who, fixed point in time.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
I think that's why a lot of people were hesitant to watch the show initially, although once they did, they're like, oh yeah, this is great, because they're like, oh yeah, we know how this guy dies. But
Yeah.
yeah.
Like if you don't, then you're like one of like 2 people that has not seen Rogue One. So
Yeah. Sorry for spoiling that.
yeah. I mean, Mon Mothma does allude to the fact that a lot of people died to get those Death Star plans. So
Well, that was the second Death Star.
well, but still, yeah, it's not easy getting Death Star plans. People die.
Yeah.
Yep.
Don't you know?
Anytime you try to
steal.
steal something from the Empire, people die. That's just the be all to end all. So, the Acolyte, which is going, which is actually going to be focusing on the bad guys. And it's actually going to be set before the prequels. So they said this is the furthest back they've ever been in live action as far as the timeline is concerned. So they said this is when the bad guys are outnumbered, and there's gonna be lots of Jedi. And then the Skeleton Crew, which is gonna be it's now in post-production, which we know is gonna be a bunch of kids running around with Jude Law, who apparently is gonna be a Jedi.
I can see it.
Running around the galaxy having all sorts of adventures. So that should be fun. And then the one trailer that we did get that kind of broke the internet was our first look at Ahsoka in her own series. Obviously, we've seen Ahsoka in The Mandalorian, but for her own series, we've gotten our first look at it, including the return of, well, for the first time in live action, but if you watch Star Wars Rebels, this is the return of several familiar faces. So we got Sabine, we've got Chopper, we've got Hera, we've got Ezra. So there may have been another one that may have made a cameo recently on The Mandalorian.
Yep. Yeah, that last episode of Mando was just like holy guest stars.
Yeah. So like, yeah, so I'm excited because I really like Rebels. So it's going to be very interesting. And then of course we have Thrawn, who
foregone conclusion that we knew he was coming.
Yes, we knew he was coming. We just didn't know who was going to play him.
True. Yep.
And apparently Star Wars likes to keep it in the family because I'm assuming they're related. This is Mads Mikkelsen's brother that's playing Thrawn. So with a last name like that,
yeah,
I would really be surprised if he's not related to Mads Mikkelsen. So so that, and they look like they could be related. So
it's likely.
Yeah. But yeah, so we've got obviously our very familiar faces. Hayden Christensen's gonna be back as Anakin. And then you're not going to see his face, but you're going to hear his voice. But David Tennant is going to be back as the voice of Huyang the droid So
in Clone Wars. I'm excited.
yeah. So that is exciting. So
I have to maybe watch a few episodes of Rebels between now and August, right? Right?
yeah,
The subject August.
yeah. Ahsoka's due out in August, so you've got time to rewatch Rebels if you need to,
Yeah.
or watch it for the first time, like some people I know that haven't bothered to watch. And we're all like, no, you need to watch Rebels at the very least. I mean, Clone Wars is good too, but definitely Rebels. Otherwise, the rest of these characters and their relationship to Ahsoka you're gonna be very confused, and their relationship to each other,
Yeah.
and their relationship to the Jedi and the Force and all that. So,
Yeah. So you got homework.
yeah.
Yes.
Yep. So, and then we got some announcements with the cartoons, not really any, mostly just new seasons of stuff that's already around. So we're getting a third season of Bad Batch. So a lot of the cartoons that are still around are getting more seasons. So anything new there. In film, because apparently we need to start thinking about going back to film in Star Wars because reasons.
The shareholders are not happy.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
Just call
money
call it what it
reasons.
is.
Yeah. So Kathleen Kennedy did the presentation on the films, but they're looking at several different films, different spots in the timeline. So Dave Filoni's going to be doing a film that's set between Return of the Jedi and The Force Awakens. And
the timeline of the shows.
Pretty much. There's going to be a film called Dawn of the Jedi, which is going to focus on the first Jedi to ever master the Force.
Okay, that's interesting. I'm interested in that.
Ooh, yeah.
And then we're going to get a film set 15 years after The Rise of Skywalker, and Daisy Ridley is going to return as Rey. This is going to be Rey post everything and her endeavor to rebuild the Jedi Order. So
I hope she isn't, a hermit and kind of jaded and grumpy about everything, because we went down that road
several times.
Yeah.
several times, and
been there, done that, got the t-shirt.
I mean, if that's how we're gonna treat our Jedi, then or heroic Jedi, then I guess it's her turn then.
Yeah,
but
hopefully not.
This is, I don't know, it's kind of weird, because last I heard, like, all of the new sequel trilogy characters, like the new characters, are like, yeah, we're done. But I guess if you throw enough money at somebody, they'll say, oh, okay, yeah, I'll come back.
Pretty much.
Yeah. That's really all I got.
Yep. Well, and that's really all we got. So,
yep.
Obviously, they're also hyping up stuff that's happening right now, like, hyping up the Mandalorian as we get into the last few episodes of this season and all that fun stuff. And of course, there's just there's a lot to do at Star Wars Celebration, not just panels, but lots of stuff to look at and people to see and all those sorts of sorts of fun things. So
I'm in a few sorrow groups on Facebook, and there's just some people who got to go.
Yep. Yeah, if you for some reason you're still not following her, friend of the show, Jen Markham, and her husband are there. So they've been in Europe for a little bit, actually. So but yeah, so go check out Jen's little videos and stuff that she has been posting on her social media. So and her Grogu went with them. So
Oh, cool.
Trooper Mom had to stay home because Trooper Mom's wardrobe doesn't fit in the suitcase.
Uh-oh.
But Grogu got to go to London to Star Wars Celebration with Auntie Jenner. So
oh, that's good.
So
Yeah, I imagine some of those
her wardrobe fits a little better in the suitcase.
Yeah.
It would probably be a little tricky to get some of those costumes through customs.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, all right, well, that's really it for the news. Because Marvel, right before we started recording earlier today, let us know that we're going to get our first teaser for the Marvels tomorrow. So we will talk about that next week. Thank you, Marvel. So moving on.
Well, at least they didn't drop it tonight. So
yeah, they at least gave us a heads up.
Yes.
Yeah.
So let's move on to feedback. So got some feedback from Shalane. Of course, we talk a musical. Shalane's on it.
Yeah, she is.
And she does start her feedback with a valid question. Why are you talking about Beetlejuice in April? Because we can. It's our show. We can do what we want.
Because we're saving other ones for October.
Yeah. So we can do other things in October. I mean, the show just ended. And now it's getting ready to go on tour. If we waited till October, then most of the tour would be over. And then people would be like, oh, I wish I'd known about that sooner. So
yeah.
There's a bit of a method to our madness at times.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Everything we do is planned out to the letter.
Most of the time.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh. We do what we do. So but going on. Yeah. I mean, it's a valid question. Do we have a really, really good answer? Not really. Just yeah. We just do what we do. So she says, but going on with Beetlejuice, I watched it a couple times when I was young with my siblings during Halloween. She says, I didn't know that it was PG-13, but it was funny. She says she remembers watching the TV series, the cartoon, when she was younger, which definitely was more kid friendly. You said the only movies I've seen Winona.
Okay, I'm gonna.
Yeah.
And when would she have watched it? Because it was off the air before she was born. I'm gonna have to talk to her about that.
Yeah, maybe she's having a Mandela moment.
Maybe, or maybe it was on reruns somewhere. I don't know.
It could have been because I don't necessarily think I watched it when it was brand new. It may have been on repeats on some random like cable channel or something. Maybe.
Yeah, because I vaguely remember catching
like
it
a
on
Cartoon Network or
Saturday morning cartoons, and then I remember catching it on some reruns somewhere. But for the life of me, I can't remember where the reruns. I saw.
Yeah, I don't know. Well, it's probably reruns that I'm like, well, I don't think you saw it on first run because that was my time, kid.
Yeah. We're old, dagnabbit.
Yes, we are. I will own it.
Yep.
Anyway,
she says
continue.
the movies that she's seen Winona Ryder in are Beetlejuice, Edward Scissorhands, Little Women, Mr. Deeds, The Crucible, and of course Stranger Things. She says her favorite Catherine O'Hara performances are Schitt's Creek, Beetlejuice, and Home Alone, which those are all good.
Yes.
She says, I never knew that Michael Keaton was a comedy dude.
Oh yes,
Really?
he can do the comedy, but then he can also do dark very, very well.
Yeah. So I want to say, like, when he did like TV, it was
Yep.
comedy.
Yeah.
Well,
Ish.
and you watch Batman, even like there are like it's a serious role. Don't get me wrong.
Yep.
But there are some moments where you're just like, okay, you're actually kind of funny.
Yeah.
You're-
Mr. Mom.
Yeah, Mr. Mom. There you
Yes.
go.
That's right, Mr. Mom.
Yeah,
That was a thing.
yeah. So he can do comedy. Well, he says I've only ever seen serious performances in like Batman or in Spider-Man Homecoming. But she says she has seen him in Mr. Mom. Yeah. And he's also Herbie Fully Loaded. I don't think I watched that one. Toy Story 3 and Jack Frost. So. Says if your town local theater gets the tour of Beetlejuice, there's some people I worked with at a different theater company that are working on that tour. That's cool.
Oh,
So,
very neat.
so when you're flipping through your playbill,
Like Shalane knows these people.
yeah. Well, I think sometimes the touring shows, will stay in a town for a decent stretch. So sometimes they'll pick up workers that are local just for that time there, because there's a fellow Disney fan that I know that wherever it is she lives, at the tour of 6 just left her city and she got to work on it while it was there. So that's cool. Says, are you girls planning to do more Tim Burton movies like Edward Scissorhands, Corpse Bride, Alice in Wonderland, and of course Nightmare Before Christmas? Probably.
We'll get there.
She says, I'm surprised Beetlejuice became a musical. I'm sure a lot of people felt that way.
Yes.
I'm still waiting for Edward Scissorhands to be a musical because I Can't See I should have a song in there. I could see that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that could work.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want that.
Yeah.
I really, really want it now.
So speaking of Gold Standard, was wondering if you guys were going to talk about the 3 Lord of the Rings like you did with all 3 Godfather movies. Says listen to your episode about the first film in a franchise like Rocky, and the first film could cover all the movies in that series. So I figure Return of the King, you will cover all 3 Lord of the Rings movies. No, we will give the other 2 Lord of the Rings movies their time in on Gold Standard. We will not leave it with just Return of the King and try to recap. I wish we could do both of the other 2 before we got to Return of the King, but it's just not going to happen, unfortunately. I know we talked to I'm sure it's been requested by at least one of our patrons that they requested the first 2, but I honestly would not like to have our Lord of the Rings discussions behind a paywall. So the first 2 may wait until after we're caught up with all the Best Picture winners, and we can, depending on what we decide to do, we'll have more freedom in picking what we're going to review. So I'll have to we're scheduled to have a planning session between Nick, Zan, and I in a couple of months to hash out the details of what we're gonna do after we get caught up with all the best picture winners. But because I know our Patreon is scheduled out through the end of this year anyway, so but I will make the argument that I would like for Fellowship and Two Towers to be not behind a paywall. So Godfather Part 3, perfectly fine with that.
So the short answer to a long explanation is watch this space.
Yes.
Or watch that space.
Yes.
The gold standard space.
Yep.
I'll let you know.
Yep. Pretty much.
You know what
Exactly.
stuff is happening.
Yep. She says, so with Blue's Clues, is Blue a girl or a boy? Blue is a girl.
Blue is a girl.
Magenta is a girl.
Yep.
Periwinkle the cat is a boy.
Yep.
She says, yes, I watched Blue's Clues when I was younger. Yeah, you're closer to the age demographic that they were aiming for when Blue's Clues was originally on.
You and Allison watched it.
Yeah. Along with Franklin, Winnie the Pooh, Sesame Street, Barney, Teletubbies, Arthur, Bear in the Big Blue House.
Yeah. That was
prime time for young children's TV shows.
Mm-hmm.
And then she said, here are some other movies that came out in 1988. Who Framed Roger Rabbit? Die Hard, one of my favorites. Oliver and Company, Willow, and Ernest Saves Christmas, one of Chauncey's favorites. And then she mentioned some
Roger Rabbit at some point.
Yeah. And then some other musicals based on movies. Mrs. Doubtfire, which yes, I'm aware that that's a thing. Tootsie, Life of Pi, which that's very interesting that they somehow managed to turn that into a musical, but hey, you know, if they could turn The Lion King into a musical, why not? Matilda, which definitely I have a couple of songs on from the Matilda set, the cast recording on my Broadway playlist on Spotify. Back to the Future, which I would love to see that. I would love to see the Back to the Future musical.
Really cool.
Yeah, it does look really cool.
Yeah.
School of Rock. Yep. And then Mean Girls is getting the Hairspray treatment, where it was a movie first that wasn't a musical, then got turned into a stage musical, and now they're doing a movie version of the musical.
Wibbly wobbly, timey. I don't know.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. It's like we're just recycling IP at this point.
Yeah. So, yes, I know that they are giving the Mean Girls musical the Hairspray treatment. So, but I've never seen the Mean Girls musical. I've seen the Mean Girls, the original movie, which apparently a lot of that cast is going to be in the movie version of the musical. So
hopefully not playing the same characters, because
no, they're not.
Okay, so I was like, how? No, they got to be like playing the teachers or something.
Yeah.
It's Mean Girls Next Generation.
Yeah, Rachel McAdams is a little old to be playing Regina George now.
Yeah. I was like, what?
Yeah.
I mean, I know Dawson casting is a thing, but even that's ridiculous.
Yeah. Yeah, no. So I'm assuming Lindsay Lohan's gonna make an appearance, maybe. I don't know how involved she's gonna be, considering she's expecting her first child. So we'll find out.
They pay her enough, she'll show up.
Yep.
And for just a cameo for a day.
Yep. That is all of Shalane's feedback. I got some feedback from Aaron. His subject line: "This thing reads like stereo instructions."
Nice reference.
She says, he says, hello, my Fiveish hosts. Beetlejuice is a fun movie that I like to revisit on a regular basis. I remember seeing the cartoon first and hating it. In fact, for the longest time, I didn't want to watch the movie because I detested the cartoon. It wasn't until high school when a friend explained how different they are. Yes, they are very, very different. Yeah. But I did get a chance to see the musical last month, which is very cool. I'm very jealous. And I really wasn't a fan of it. I know musicals aren't direct adaptations, but I found the focus being on Lydia trying to find her dead mother instead of the Maitlands versus the Deets kind of boring. Having said that, the actor playing Beetlejuice chewed up so much scenery, it was hard not to love him. The best part, Netherworld juice, an adult beverage they were selling at concessions that was delicious. Take care, Aaron. Yeah,
well, as long as I got Beetlejuice right,
the rest of it's just kind of like whatever.
Yeah.
You're really just there to
name is the title.
Yeah, I mean, you're really just kind of watching to see Beetlejuice do what did I say that somebody called him the Deadpool of Broadway? So that's really what you're there for, and the songs, a lot of the songs are catchy. So, but yeah, the plot definitely deviates significantly from the movie, and the focus is definitely different, but yeah, it's just fun from what I've seen. So I'm excited to eventually see it, hopefully at some point. When it comes close to me, I'll have the entire score, all the lyrics memorized by then. That is it for the feedback. Thank you, Aaron and Shalane.
Yes, indeed.
Oh, and speaking about other movies that came out in 1988, well, one version, the original version came out in 1988.
In Japan.
And then the first English version, depending on which one you're talking about, either 1989 or 1993.
Yes. So
and then another version in 2005. So.
Yes. Which was so weird for some of us who rented My Neighbor Totoro from the movie rental place in our little local town in the early 90s, and then years later went back to watch it again, like, wait, I don't remember, or I remember it differently. But yeah, so we were kids, and I don't really know why it caught our attention, because what it was is our local grocery store also had like a little corner where, hey, come rent movies. And I just remember we were going by there, and I'm like, hey, this movie looks cute, Mom, can we get it? And I had no concept of this was from Japan or anime, anything like that. I just like, it's these cute, these cute little girls and this great big raccoon cat looking thing, and it looks like fun. So we rented it, and oh gosh, it is like so cute. Like that is, Jared and I went and saw it actually. Yeah, we saw it in theaters because of the Ghibli Fest a couple weeks ago, and it's, oh gosh, I'm like, this is so
the
cute
one
so
term
fun.
that I keep hearing is charming,
heartwarming,
Yes.
sweet.
Yeah, because I mean, compared to like some of the other, I mean, we've only done 2 other Ghibli movies at this point, but compared to Spirited Away and Kiki, this one really is just kind of a small pocket of time in the life of these 2 girls.
Yeah, they call it, the genre is called slice of life. I don't know when that term came into common usage. I highly doubt it was when Totoro first came out, but that's what it is. And
Yeah.
if you don't
But there's
know,
no real like protagonist or antagonist.
no, there's not a conflict. It's other than, these girls, the two girls, these two sisters and their dad move out to the country to be close to where their mom is recovering or convalescing, or she's in a country hospital with a disease. They never say specifically what it is, but part of it is autobiographical for Hayao Miyazaki, whose mother, there was like a little feature after the movie.
Tuberculosis is what Miyazaki's mother suffered from. So
it's kind of assumed that's what the mother in Totoro has, but it's never specified. But it's like,
which would make sense when Satsuki, when grandmother's trying to make her feel better because they found out that their mom's not coming home for the weekend from the hospital, and she's like, oh, your mom just got a little cold, and Satsuki's like, well, that's how it started last time. Is she was supposed to have just a little cold. So
which you can understand why Satsuki's like, oh, that's what they told me last time, and now my mother's in the hospital and never she's
been in the hospital for ages, and seems like she's never gonna come home.
It's like when you're a kid and that age and those things are happening, and grown-ups either can't or won't give you a more detailed explanation. But at that age, I wouldn't give them all the gory details, but explaining to them what's
like,
going
your mom's
on.
got tuberculosis. This is very awful respiratory disease.
She's gonna die.
Right. Yeah.
And depending, like for some versions there's vaccines, for others there's not. It could be failed.
And also this is like 1950s Japan, so post-war Japan, and I mean, things were getting better, but out in the country, not as much. But I mean, you don't really. I mean, all is the mother isn't there, and their father, has to take a bus into the city to go because he's a university professor, and they can't call very easily because they don't have a phone in their house. They have to go to the neighbors. So these girls, other than Granny is taking care of them. This old lady, voiced by Pat Carroll of the late great Pat Carroll,
Ursula herself,
which we know and love her as Ursula, but to hear her as this sweet older lady who's helping out with these children, I don't think she's actually their grandmother, but I mean, in Japanese especially, there's a lot of honorifics, and I'm sure that's how they translated it, because that would make sense.
Because in the 93 dubs they call her Nanny.
Old woman is another one I've heard, not in Totoro but in other anime, but Granny makes perfect sense. So she's like kind of a neighbor lady, but it's like everybody in this little village, I don't even want to call it a town, but this village, they all look out for each other, they all take care of each other. And like even these girls who are like, they've moved from the city, they could be, if this movie had come out, modern day or something like that, they would be like really snotty, didn't want to move out to the country. But no, these girls and their dad, it's like, this is an adventure. And they, and you have May, who she goes and she sees the little sprites and she's following them and ends up in Totoro's forest and meets the Totoros and all those things, and they're very respectful because they're the spirits of the forest. And it's very sweet and charming, like we said. And this is and like, it seems the spirits, as in most Miyazaki movies, they're real and they coincide with the real world, and it's not just in the girls' imaginations, to the point where they have this whole nighttime ritual of growing the tree, and the girls see it as like, we're building this great big ginormous tree. And then in the morning, their little seeds have started to sprout, and they're so excited, and it's so cute.
Yes.
And just those simple little things. It's like this movie is childhood. Whatever, like we all talk about, that's my childhood. That's this. It's like, this is the spirit of childhood, if not your exact childhood, but that's like everything is just so fun and amazing and awe-inspiring, and your parents are just like, you're like, the dad is like, yes, this is what's going on. He never like puts them down or
considering the amount of like material we have consumed, Disney or otherwise, where like either a parent is missing or what parents they do have are just like pieces of shit and would never win parent of the year.
Right.
No, their dad.
Well, I mean, their dad, even their mom though too. I mean, when they're visiting their mom, when they do get to visit their mom in the hospital, and she's asking about the house, and they're like, "It's haunted," and she's like, "Oh, great! I can't wait to meet some ghosts."
Yeah, like they encourage, like, even if the girls are just, "Oh, this is your imagination," they encourage it and they play into it.
These two would win parents of the year.
Yes.
They never belittle the children of like, "Oh, you're just making up silly stories or anything." They play into it, and it, in the end, there's that whole bit where May runs off with the ear of corn because she wants to give it to her mom because that's what's going to heal her in her mind, and like nobody ever acts like that's a stupid idea, really.
No.
And then no, I mean, it's obviously the girls are upset when their mom can't come home, and Satsuki yells about it, which I totally get it. I understand, and and where she's the older sister and she's there and she feels like she has a responsibility, but that is a lot to put on a kid. Like even if she is like 7 or 8, I know they said
Satsuki's like 10
or 10.
And May's supposed to be like 4.
Yeah, May is. I remember thinking, oh, she's not that much older than Lottie, which I'm having this moment where at the end, like the little girl, like May, is missing, and they find this kid's shoe in the water, and I'm like, my mama heart is like, that's not hers. I know it's not hers because I've seen this movie, but because this isn't that kind of movie. But I'm like, that's I'm thinking of my little girl. Like, no. But yeah, it's so imaginative and so cool. I love all the visuals. All those like that one, the one that I really like. Okay, so May goes into the forest, and like she stumbles on Totoro because he's sleeping, and then he kind of wakes up, and there's that shot where it's like from the point of view of the Totoro's mouth, there's the tongue and all these teeth, and May is like, wow, and then she growls, goes, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is like Ghibli, Miyazaki, just your animation, your style, your all of this stuff is just so good.
There's a reason that Totoro has kind of become like the symbol. He's become like the Mickey Mouse of Studio Ghibli.
He's the mascot, even though this is not Miyazaki's first movie with, I think it's the first movie with the studio, but I know this isn't his first movie to be made, but this is the first one that really made an impact on film in Japan and in other countries as well. So and it's just so like I said before, it is Miyazaki has said this is autobiographical to a point where, I mean, he changed it so it was sisters, and because he had all brothers, so he changed it that far so it wouldn't be strictly autobiographical, but a lot of what happens here, as far as like the mom and the parents and the kids having to kind of be on their own for day-to-day things, and that and going and living in the country, a lot of that actually happened to him. And maybe it's as a kid, and you've got this going on, you're like, oh, I wish there was some benevolent spirit or whatever to come and take me away from all this, or even just give me a break from worrying about my mother. And you never like the Totoros and the spirits and the Catbus, they don't really talk. I mean, they there's like grunts and things and pointing, but it's like, yes, they understand what's going on with these girls, or they at least understand that they need some help or they need somebody to be there for them, even though there's lots of people that are there for them. Like Granny's helping out, their neighbors are helping out as much as they can. But it's like you need someone to take care of not just your, your physical needs, making sure you're safe, whatever. You need someone to, like, I don't want to say take your mind off it, but at least give you a sense of it's going to be okay. Like whatever's going on, you will be okay, and you will be looked after, and somebody is there, whether it's a supernatural thing or something like that, just to be there, and not necessarily just to be like, make sure you're fed and clothed and sheltered, which are all important, but it's more that intangible, I need to feel safe, I need to feel like it's okay. And for kids, it's tapping into that, whether it's in their imagination or actually real, and the movie suggests that these spirits are real. They're looking out for these girls and just for this family in general.
Because when Satsuki goes to Totoro and says, hey, Mai's missing, because at first he doesn't want to wake up, kind of ignoring her. I don't know, maybe it's because with her being the oldest. And then as soon as she says she's missing, he's up, and they're just like, Catbus, we got it.
Like,
let's go.
We got this. Let's go find the girl. Move it.
Yeah, because it's interesting, from when the time period this is kind of set in versus the time period it was made versus now. It's interesting the Japanese culture it's become I think it's always kind of been a thing, but I think with things like social media it's become more the outside, the rest of the world's figuring it out, that when it comes to their children are, obviously they're part of the family, their own family, their blood family, but society as a whole, the Japanese have got this, kind of cultural mentality that all children are part of this big family of just Japanese society, and they watch out for each other. Like, I know it went a little viral there for a minute, that I think it was on Netflix, that TV show where it showed like Japanese kids being sent off to like the market when they're like 3 to go buy groceries. But they actually do that because they know that the other people are going to watch that child even if it's not their kid.
Yes.
So having set, so their father having to go off into the, to take the bus or whatever to go to work at the university, and these 2 girls essentially being left alone, except with just like, granny, nanny, whatever, random neighbor boy when they first move in. He's like, your house is haunted. But for the most part, the girls are kind of left to their own devices, which if they didn't have this gray cloud of their mom's health over them, it probably wouldn't be as big a deal. But because the fact that they have a parental figure whose further existence in their life is kind of up in the air, because they don't know whether she's gonna live or she's gonna stay in the hospital for the rest of her life,
dictate whether or not she can leave the hospital for just a visit,
right? And then they've got a father that has to physically leave every day to go to work to provide for them. So it's like they've got one parent that's actually gone, to a point where they can't get to her easily, which is why May runs off, but she gets lost because she doesn't actually know how to get to the hospital. And then you've got a father that
got lost at one point getting to the hospital.
But then you've got the father that is, when he's home, he's very present. He's playing with the girls and joking with them and all sorts of things. But at the same time, they're taking on more
these girls,
responsibility than children their age should have to take on.
Yeah, they have to grow up. There's definitely a sense, especially with Satsuki, and I know I'm probably not pronouncing her name right. But like she really has to take on a lot of responsibility.
She has almost taken on the mother role.
Oh yeah,
pretty much. I mean, I'm sure. I'm not saying this because I want a sequel to Totoro. I absolutely do not want a sequel to Totoro. But I mean, there is like a little mini one at the museum, but you have to be in Japan to see that. Like it would be interesting to see like how she grew up, like what kind of personality she developed, and how with that mothering, that sense of being in charge and being the mom to her little sister really kind of stuck with her, or how that, because that does happen with kids, Japanese or otherwise, who for whatever reason they have to take care of all the younger siblings because one parent's gone and the other has to work all the time, and it's just interesting to see that dynamic of you didn't really get a childhood because all this other stuff happened and you had to grow up really fast.
Oh yeah.
Yep. Unfortunately, I can relate to a point.
I can too.
Which is funny that we're talking about such heavy subjects on this movie in particular that does have that reputation, and rightly earned, of being a very heartwarming and heartfelt and cute story that doesn't have a lot of heavy, or doesn't deal with a lot of heavy subjects directly. Like the mother's illness is mentioned, but it's never like this heaviness on the story, on the movie, and it's just about these girls exploring their new home and growing up and having adventures. And I mean, you watch the movie and the opening credit song is like very much, hey, let's go, and we're gonna go exploring and see things and be very wowed and in awe of this new place and these creatures and what we see, and and it's just May walking back and forth with her little hat and the little baby Totoros following her around. It's just like, this is so adorable. I love it.
And they need to come up with something so they don't forget the umbrella.
Yes. Oh my gosh. I mean, you see that scene with the umbrella and they're standing at the bus stop in the rain and May is asleep and Satsuki's just standing here and it's like, your dad needs his umbrella back. But, and it's just so funny. They're like, oh no, he still has dad's umbrella. It's like, that's what we're worried about. Yes, apparently that's what we're worried about. Like, okay,
Dad needs the umbrella more than we need it.
Yeah, it's like, hey, wait, can we get that back? Oh, okay.
Yeah. Well, Dad's a university professor. He needs to look respectable. He can't be looking like a drowned rat.
Right.
That is true. And that's one of those things. It's like that kids are so worried about. It's like, Dad needs his umbrella, even though he forgot it, and he would probably rather you stay home and be safe and dry. But nope, he needs his umbrella, so we're going out to meet him at the bus stop. We're gonna hike out there to do it, even though the bus is probably good.
Yeah, I think that's the overall, I think, takeaway, or whatever you want to call it, of this film in general, is it's really just life, but it's from the child's perspective.
Yeah.
And
but it still appeals to adults. So it's like, it doesn't talk down to kids, doesn't treat them like idiots, but it also doesn't treat the parents like, oh, this has to be for kids, so it's not for you. So you just put this on and let it entertain your child while you go do something else. No, this one is, the whole family can enjoy this one. Yeah. And they will all get something out of it. And like I said, I watched it when I was young, when I was probably like 5 or 6. if I remember my dates correctly when we first watched this. And I thought, oh my gosh, this is so fun. They're going on an adventure. And now I watch it as an adult and I see these two cute little girls just, oh my goodness. And one of them reminds me of my daughter. And so because, she is sassy and gets in trouble and gets into mischief. And I'm like, oh my gosh, you. And, it's just kind of got that stubborn streak. And I could totally see her running off with an ear of corn if she thought that it was going to help somebody. And I'm like, oh no. And where I'm like,
to tell you the truth, that would have been me at that age too.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Mm-hmm. You're fine until Lottie tries running out the front door and you go, and she's like, I'm just going to run some errands.
Oh my gosh. No, we go up to get Alex off the bus. It's happened today. And she is just, hey, we got to go get Alex. And she just ran down the sidewalk. I cannot keep up with her. I'm like, get back here. She's like, I go get Alex. I'm like, and it's down to because we have our lane, which is, just this little branch off of, it's not really a busy road, but it has its moments. And I'm like, please don't run out the road. Please, 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 please. And she knows, but it's still like really freaky just to see her running breakneck. And I'm like, please don't trip. Please don't run out the road. Please, nobody stop and grab her. I'm like, what are you doing? And then she's like,
little kid logic.
Little kid logic. And then I get up there and I'm like, Lottie, I cannot keep up with you. And she's just giggling. And then I sit down on the little, by the fence where there's a little ledge. And she goes, Mommy, I need snuggles. And I'm like,
aww.
You are adorable. Sometimes I want to wring your neck, but you're adorable. Because you scare the crap out of me, child. But yes, I'm like, as an adult, as a parent, I'm like, the parent stuff hits me a little differently, but also I've still got, that sense of, let kids be kids, let them have these things and let them see the world and see it through their own eyes and not,
and let them process.
Yeah. Let them process what's going on. Yeah.
When the girls have their fight and, when, Satsuki tells Mei that, their mom's not gonna be able to come home for the weekend. And Mei is like, being four, she's like, it's not fair.
Yeah. And she doesn't
like,
understand.
You want her to come home and get more sick? Do you want her to die? And then she's like, Mei is just like, throwing a hissy fit. And Satsuki's like, well, you just grow up. And it's like, I know it's the heat of the moment because they're both stressed. And because of their ages, they don't have the capability to process these emotions. But what they're going through is very accurate for children their age. Is children, they get these emotions, whether it's happy or sad or frightened or angry or whatever, but they're so big,
right?
And
they don't have
process.
They don't they don't have the tools to process, which I can't blame any kid for that, because I'm 40 freaking years old, and I have problems processing my emotions sometimes, so I'm not going to be like, grow up.
Yeah, and you actually know what's going on, and you have the words for it, and these kids,
but it doesn't make the feelings any less.
No,
because there's sometimes where you want to revert and scream and yell and be that 4 or 3-year-old to process.
I have had moments like that as a full-fledged adult where I just want to yell and scream and just let it all out. Mr. Rogers was onto something.
The floor, kick the legs, and pound the arms, and be done with it.
Like, I want to throw a tantrum. Why can't I throw a tantrum right now?
Yeah.
I don't care.
Yeah. So, but it's just that's kind of the closest we get to any conflict,
right?
Yeah.
In this entire film, and it's really it just goes to show, hey, how much these girls have been probably keeping stuff in.
Yeah.
To the point where it finally breaks loose.
Yeah.
And then they don't know what to do with it. And that's And then you
part
end
of
up with
that
kid
I-
logic with May deciding to run away to try to get herself to the hospital to take her mom a ear of corn. So
Yeah, because they've been growing this. It's like, if I eat this corn, or if I give this corn to my mom, will it make her feel better? And Granny doesn't want to dash her hopes or anything. She's like, oh, I think she will love to eat the corn. And she's like, hey, that tears it. That's gonna make mommy better.
Mhm.
It's like, well, good food, yes. that does help, but yeah, it's like, well, and I also think part of that is almost a credit to their dad, because I mean, and you never see it in this movie, for good reason, but it's like, what is he going through? Like, having to be the single parent, having to
Mhm.
provide for them. Your wife, your spouse is in the hospital, and there's just all of that, and you've got to help your daughters, help your girls get through this and still have a sense of childhood and family and feel loved and cared for. That's a lot on a person.
Right. And I mean,
I don't care if you're a super smart university professor, and he does, at least from the point of view of the kids, and obviously this movie is told from their point of view. They love their dad. They think the world of him, and he definitely, like, he plays with them, and he doesn't, he's there for them, and he's like, yeah, fantastic dad. He knows exactly what to do, and he's their hero. And I'm like, I love this.
It's like that first night that they moved in after they met Granny, and they were talking about the dust mites and the dirt and the cleaning. I mean, when they pile into that bathtub, I mean, Dad's just like, okay, this is a chance for me to relax with my girls, and then try to forget things for a bit. I mean, it's probably from the kids' perspective, but too, Dad's kind of seeing the joy that the girls are having in the new place and how they're playing and exploring and that too. So I think that makes him feel better, because that's one less worry for him.
Yeah.
Well, he has to worry
that they're adjusting and being okay. And then also, because I know people will get like weirded out about this, but that whole bathing scene, that's actually a Japanese custom, and I think it is kind of a thing today. Is families bathe together regardless of gender. And I mean, like, there you go. There's like hot springs that you go to on vacation, and like all the family members just get in and enjoy. So that whole thing, that's actually very innocent and sweet. Whereas I think some people would be like, what's this? And like, it's a cultural thing. So
it's culture.
If you see this movie and you're wondering, that's what it is. That's totally normal. So, but yeah, I mean, it's so funny and so sweet that he's just like, getting up and splashing, and they're giggling, and it's cute, and it's just a family just settling into their new house and just having fun.
So, when this was originally released, they didn't actually think it was going to do that well. So,
well, and then
they ended up releasing it as a part of a double billing. So they're like, well, if people come see the movie before it, then
and the movie before it is Grave of the Fireflies, which is, I haven't seen it because I don't think I could get through it without just bawling.
From what I've heard what that's about, and
I would suggest, if you want to know, just go look it up on Wikipedia or something. It is very poignant, and what I have seen of it is very good. It is so dang sad. So they're like, here, you can cry at Grave of the Fireflies and then be happy with My Neighbor Totoro, which I guess is a good strategy for marketing, but it's like, oh dear. It's like, hello, mood whiplash. Like, as cute and charming and sweet as Totoro is, Grave of the Fireflies is depressing and sad, and you just... So, if you're into those kinds of movies, knock yourself out.
Yeah.
Enjoy.
Well, to Miyazaki's and everyone's, relief, it did take off. So,
Yes.
And ended up doing very well and is, has a cult following. A lot of people consider it one of the greatest movies of all time.
Oh yeah, it is
definitely at least one of the greatest animated movies of all time.
Yes. And Miyazaki this was, like I said, this wasn't his first one, but it is the one that kind of put Studio Ghibli on the map. And it was funny because when we went and saw it in the theater, it was part of, Ghibli Fest. And they always do like some little featurette or something either before or after the movie. And so there was like a little clip of a documentary that was done in Japan, dubbed over and subtitled in English. And they did some interviews with Hayao Miyazaki. And there's this bit, it's a recent interview. So, he's an adult, he's older, you can tell that he's talking about how, if I don't feel like I've entertained people, then I don't feel like my life is worth living. And I'm like, you adorable, wonderful man. I need to give you a hug. It might be very taboo in your culture and might be a little off-putting, but you have no idea just how much joy and wonder you have brought to the world. And if you think this as an old man with all your accomplishments and the things you've done, I'm like, I don't know what to say, because you are just, Miyazaki, you're brilliant. You're wonderful. Everything that he's done, whether it's Totoro or Spirited Away or Kiki or any of his other amazing movies, I'm like, how can you think? I'm like, I mean, I can understand how you think that, I know, but I'm just like, oh, does anyone tell you just how amazing you are ever? Because you are. Somebody needs to tell this man that he's brilliant and he gets it and he understands, like, not just kids and animation and things, but just people. He understands people and their stories and how they live and what they want and what brings them joy. Pulse. Yes, he's got it. And it's like, it feels like, I mean, he had a really sad childhood and it took him a while to get into the industry. And, he started working for one studio and it didn't work out. And then he started, like, Studio Ghibli existed before him, but his success kind of helped him basically take it over and make it what it is now. So I'm just like, okay, all you people that are carrying on this legacy, do not screw it up.
Right.
The good thing about Japan and Japanese culture is they know what they have. They know what they have to carry on, and they take it seriously. So I'm just like, yes.
That major level of respect.
Yes. It's like there is respect and loyalty and honor in all of this. And it's like, I mean, Studio Ghibli has put out a few clunkers, but mostly in relation to what they accomplished before, but never anything that was Miyazaki has been bad. Like anytime he's done anything, it's been really good. Any movie he's worked on has been amazing. And some of these other filmmakers, there's a lot of them that are just they're spot on. So I'm not worried about Studio Ghibli for now.
Yeah.
But Hayao Miyazaki is just, I know he doesn't like the comparison, but I think when he was interviewed and asked this question, I think he might have mistaken the man or the company instead of the man, but he is most definitely in the mold of Walt Disney. The man, not necessarily the company.
Right.
Because he actually kind of didn't like that comparison, but I think there was something lost in translation there. Because he was asked about that years and years ago. But yeah, he is, I don't know that you could call one or the other greater than the other. I think they're very much in that same mold of wanting to make people happy and understanding storytelling and creativity and all those great and awesome things that makes movies amazing. And yeah, I can't say enough good about Miyazaki.
Now, when you
I
saw
can
it
see your question.
in the movie theater, was that it subtitled?
Oh, we saw the dub, so it was the
The
Dakota
2005 dub?
Fanning. Yeah, so it was
Okay.
Dakota Fanning,
The
Elle
Disney
Fanning.
dub?
Yes, yes. So there are two dubs. Well, maybe three, but
Well,
so,
there's two dubs, but the first dub was released multiple times over so
yes.
many years because the movie originally came out in 88, but then
Mhm.
they immediately did a dub for
Yeah.
Japanese airline flights as an in-flight
Yes.
movie.
Okay, that's what it was.
Yeah, and that was in 89.
Mhm.
And then in 93 is when that same dub was able to be released on
Home video.
well, it was able to be released as a theatrical release in the US, and then Fox Video later released it on VHS. That 93 release dub, although it was under the 50th Street Films label, technically was released by Troma.
Oh, wow.
So,
well, there you go.
So technically, this was a Troma release in 1993.
Yes.
Not a Troma production, just a Troma release.
Yes.
And then in 2005,
yeah.
Disney did their dub, which is the star-studded with the Elle and Dakota Fanning and a lot of the Disney voices names, you know, Leah Salonga, Frank Welker, Pat Carroll.
Uh-huh.
You know.
Which is funny because, you know, as we all know, Disney owns Fox now, but it would be interesting.
Right.
Like, I wonder someday if, you know,
I'm really surprised that the Disney version's not on Disney Plus.
So Ghibli,
all of the Ghibli stuff is on HBO Max.
Yeah.
Is
so Disney does not have the rights anymore. They have so the Ghibli rights, it's kind of weird how this all works. Anime in general, just how the rights are doled out and how it's been over the years. Because years ago, it was just like, oh, you know, Japan's already done the animation, but we're gonna tell our own story in the English dub and cut it up and do whatever.
Right. Because I mean,
that was
Disney, aka Buena Vista Home Entertainment, in Japan issued the VHSs in '97. And then Disney also released the Blu-ray in Japan in 2012. So
yeah. I don't know, and it might be a matter of, you know, physical media release versus streaming rights versus
that
I don't know.
Could be true too.
Yeah, and Studio Ghibli is kind of an interesting animal just because of the way they operate and how they have operated in the United States and just worldwide. They kind of have their own thing they're doing. Whereas other anime dubbing, well, I mean, first it was like there were some, you know, years ago that like Cloverway and Deke and I think Funimation came later. They would just be like, "Hey, we want the rights to these," and the Japanese companies would just sell them and just like, "Hey, you know, do whatever you want." And then it kind of got to the point where fans, especially, were like, "We want more faithful dub adaptations or you know, whatever." We want the original Japanese. We don't want this, you know, different way of doing it. Even if some of them do have some good additions, it's like, nah, we want to keep it more to what the original intent was. So that's why you have multiple versions of dubs, and some just are like go out of print or just gone. They're never going to be released again. Even though some of us are like, oh, we would like to, like, I would love to hear the Fox version dub again, but I don't know that will ever happen just because of how rights are tied up, and it's complicated.
Which is why Totoro makes a cameo in Toy Story 3, but not Toy Story 4.
Yes. So yeah, Disney for a long time had the distribution rights, and John Lasseter was a key figure in that. But yeah, like towards the end of his time with Disney, it kind of that's probably when, or you know, they just let the contract expire and like, hey, well, you know, streaming, whatever, HBO wants them or whatever. I don't know the details, but yeah, other places have kind of, and also it goes down to like how these other companies treat the the works, because I know Miyazaki was not happy with how the original dub of Nausicaa of the Valley of the Wind was done, because it was just chopped to pieces. I didn't actually see it, but I did read the story, and when I want to say when Lasseter was working with Ghibli and Disney had the rights, Miyazaki actually sent them a giant pair of scissors and said no cuts when they were dubbing his movies, which I thought was funny, but
no touching.
Yeah, no cuts, no capes. Which they abided by his wishes, which is good. But it's
the movie's only 88 minutes long to begin with. There's not a whole lot.
Well, okay, not Totoro, but that was Nausicaa,
they threatened to chop this one too for the airline, and Miyazaki was like, no touchy.
No, and he is, and rightly so. He is very protective of his IP, and as he should be. I'm not, So anime dubbing is just it's like the history of it and just how things work. It is a fascinating thing, but you gotta hear the story from somebody who is okay with English dubbing or international dubbing, and not like the people are like, oh, Japanese is the only way to watch it, and you have to do it with subtitles, which is fine, but at the same time it's like some of us have kids. They're not going to say this is the movie.
It's a children's movie, and kids can't read that fast a good chunk of the time. So
yeah,
you're asking a lot for a little kid to be able to not only read the subtitles, take it into what it means, apply it to what it is they just saw,
and understand the story before it's off to the next thing. So there always will be a place for well done dubbing. Whatever you're talking about. I just know there are a lot of people who are just like, oh, dubbing.
Purists.
Oh. Yeah, but it's their prerogative, and the subtitles are there for those that want them. And and I get it. There are some dubs that are just patently awful. I get it. I've been watching anime since since My Neighbor Totoro. So and I think now a lot of companies are like, okay, we get this. We know what needs to be done, and we want to stay faithful to the original. So anyway,
if you ever
scissors. Yes, remember the scissors. So if you ever find a YouTube documentary or something about just this tells the history of anime dubbing or something like that, just make sure it isn't somebody who poo-poos dubs all the time anyway. That makes a difference in who's telling the story. But so that was kind of it was a related tangent, but a tangent nonetheless.
If you want to, you can go see the stage adaptation.
Yes, there is a stage adaptation. In fact, one of the offerings for Ghibli Fest this year is actually the Spirited Away stage adaptation.
Nice.
From Japan, which we thought about going to, but it's playing on a day we can't go. So it's like, dang it. But they will do the actual movie Spirited Away later in the year. I think it's closer to Halloween, but the stage production is going to be in the theaters.
Yeah.
Next month or in June, I can't remember.
Yeah, because it ended its run in London in January. So, because it was adapted by the Royal Shakespeare Company.
Yes. So anyway, look up Ghibli Fest 2003. It'll tell you all the movies they're doing this year and the dates, and you can buy tickets. It's a Fathom Events thing, but we love it. We love the Ghibli Fest stuff, because it's like you get to see these movies that are. I mean, in Totoro's case, it's more than 30 years old.
35.
35 years, and so it's like you're like, when else are you going to get to see this on the big screen? And it's a good time, and they do put a lot of effort into making it worth your while. But even so anyway, Ghibli, we love you. Miyazaki's the greatest. Love you too. And Totoro.
Someone please bankroll a Fiveish Fangirls road trip to the Miyazaki theme park, Ghibli theme park.
Yeah. Oh, right. That's what I was gonna say. So there is, like I mentioned earlier, there's like a short that kind of is a sequel, but it's only playing in the Ghibli
May and the
Museum.
Kitten Bus.
May and the Kitten Bus, and I'm like,
you have to go to the museum to be able to see it.
They've said they are never going to release it like on streaming or home video or anything.
Oh
like,
man,
can't be a Kitten Bus. Like how can you not just love the concept, the idea?
You cannot drop the words Kitten Bus and then not give us anything.
Right, exactly.
Yes. Right? I know. I'm like, that might be worth the plane ticket to get to Japan just to see that in the museum.
It's like we need
I need May and a Kitten Bus. I just do.
We need to go to the museum. We need to go to the theme park.
Yes.
Somebody make this happen.
Right? Like,
it's like any benefactors out there just want to send us on a trip.
Yeah, really.
Yeah. Yes.
Because I need Kitten Bus in my life. All I know is the title. There's no like images or anything, or at least none that I could find online. But Kitten Bus, like, come on.
Yeah.
Just the title. It's like,
right?
Like, die of cute.
Mm-hmm. And I'm not even really a cat person.
Well, you don't have to be a cat.
It's a cat. I mean, first of all, Catbus. It's a bus.
And it
looks like a cat with a bunch of legs.
Mm-hmm.
It can balance on power line wires.
Yes, and find your lost baby sister.
Mm-hmm. And apparently can move like a ninja and not make a sound, because how else were they able to leave that ear corn on the windowsill?
Right?
No kidding.
No kidding. Like,
Catbus.
That's how you know
it rolled a nat 20 on its stealth check.
Yes.
Yes. That's without a trace.
That's how you know the Catbus is real, because they left the ear of corn on the windowsill for their mom.
Well, and May's not lost anymore. So.
And May's not lost anymore. That's true. They found May.
Yep.
Safe and sound.
Mm-hmm. Oh, Miyazaki.
Just when you think like, okay, yeah, I've seen the cutest thing ever. No, you haven't, because you know. But anyway. So, anything else anyone wants to say? I feel like we've gushed over.
The movie is short. Like I said, it's only 88 minutes long, so
it's worth seeing it.
Definitely. It is not. It's not a hard watch. Absolutely not. I mean, if you like, just buy it on Blu-ray. Like you should own it. It should totally be. If you were into cinema, collecting movies or anything at all like that, just
especially if you're into, you know, owning some of the best movies of all time.
Absolutely. It's like, and you don't even really like, if you're like, oh, I'm not into anime or whatever. I'm like, it's a gem of cinema. That's all. That's all.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Like you know.
I'm not. Anyway. Chauncey's told me I'm not allowed to go down the anime rabbit hole. This is this one exception because it's essentially Disney but in anime form. So
pretty much like the move that Rachel, I give you permission to get into the Studio Ghibli stuff, because it's not a huge time commitment.
Yeah,
and it's a bunch of movies, so it's basically the same as getting into Disney animation.
Mm-hmm.
So I
considering Disney ended up doing a lot of the dubs and releases anyways.
Yes, that is true.
I'm practically watching Disney movies.
Yes.
Yeah, you are. Now I mean, if you start looking at own if you start looking at DVD releases of One Piece, well then we're gonna have to talk.
Yeah, that's probably never gonna happen. So I think we're okay.
I've actually never watched it because it's been going on for like 20 years and it's still going. Oh,
Like, I can
like,
barely
no,
keep
thank
up with the Pokemon when I play Pokemon Go, so
Yeah, that too. So, but no, Ghibli, you're fine.
Yep.
So anyway, well, and in that case, if any of our listeners want to chime in with their thoughts on My Neighbor Totoro or Miyazaki or any Studio Ghibli related things, we welcome your feedback at fiveishfangirls@gmail.com. There's our email address to send your feedback. You could also visit our website, which is thefivishfangirls.com. That has links to all of our social media, places to leave comments, ways to find the podcast, which is basically wherever you find podcasts, we are there. And please leave reviews and such wherever you get your podcast, because that helps us out, helps us get found, and helps other people enjoy Unsquee. You can also support us through Patreon and our merch shop as well. And thanks again for being here. Thank you. We appreciate for your support and for your listening ears and everything else that you do. And I'm just glad you're out there listening to our squeeing over Kitten Bus.
Mm-hmm.
I can't get over Kitten Bus. I'm sorry.
No. I hear you.
Yeah, I'm like,
We'll have to find somebody's like artistic rendition who got to see it, and then
Yeah.
I'll draw this so people could see it.
Yes. It's like, I just want to see it. I just want to see what the Kitten Bus looks like. I'll probably have to do a better Google search of something.
Mm-hmm.
It must be sent out somewhere. Like,
Oh, I'm sure.
Oh yeah,
I
I just found an image on Pinterest. I'll share it in the in the chat.
Okay.
Oh gosh, that is so ridiculously
Yeah,
cute.
I
And May is
know.
writing in it. Okay, I'm gonna die of squee if we don't
That's
stop.
the cutest thing ever.
All right. Well, before we all die of absolute adorableness, we should sign off.
We really should.
Yes.
So this is Brittany and over there saying goodnight.
This is Chrissy saying goodnight from Salt Lake City.
This is Holly from Wisconsin saying good evening.
This is Rachel in Indianapolis, Indiana. So if you're riding Kitten Bus, does that mean instead of giant full-size ears of corn, you get those tiny little baby-sized ears of corn?
Probably.
Probably.
Thank you for listening to the Fiveish Fangirls. Please visit thefivishfangirls.com for details on how to further support the show, along with information on our nonprofit, Fangirls Give Back. We love our Fiveish fam and appreciate all of your feedback, shares, and encouragement. Remember to keep letting your geek flag fly.